Trying to go as quick and clean as I can. We will have a little bit of variation, and obviously because I haven't done a final edit, the final printed version will have some variation. But I'm going to try to tighten up and prepare the lesson and write it first and then try to teach it as we go. So here's where we're going to go. And today's is on personal blocks. I hope you enjoy. Do you ever notice the average salesperson has the exact same category of rebuttals or blocks for each failed closing attempt? John's always run into a pricing issue. Julie's clients are never satisfied with quality. Tom's, there's always a question of time value. Bill is rebuffed by the client needing to sleep or pray over the decision verse. Wilson's clients always need a family member approval. Here is a fact. You do not have a true product problem unless every salesperson gets the same block from potential buyers. Slight variation. I want to be clear. What are the blocks? Is everyone getting the same, or has everyone got their own block? If it's not the same, you do not have a product problem. You don't. If you have 25 salespeople present their product to 500 people and you find that those who don't purchase, the reason was almost exclusively a specific feature or price, then guess what? You know what to fix. Matter of fact, I guarantee you knew it after 50 presentations. The problem is easily repaired. Think about it. If this is it, if I'm Ford and I make a truck and it's the same as Chevy's, and all of a sudden everybody's buying Chevy and they're not buying my Ford, and they all price up, but I'm 10% higher, I got a price issue. If mine breaks down and it's known to, I have a quality. If it's the same, you know what it is. You know what's phenomenal about that? You can fix it. You can fix what you know. But if it's not, if the reason they don't buy varies, if it differs from salesperson to salesperson, and by the way, as we're going to go, what you're going to find is every one of them in that case has their own unique block. His is not hers, and yet his is the reason all his clients don't buy it. Hers is the reason almost all her clients don't buy. Not 100%, there's a couple others, but it's like there's one major impediment that gets there. Guess what you have? If you find 25 different major problems, you don't have a product issue, you have a salesperson issue. Period. You have a salesperson issue if that is true. Let's look at the issue from two standpoints. First, the salesperson. Do you know what your block is? Do you know what your block is? The answer is easy. What's your most common reason people tell you no? That's your block. That is your mental, internal, subconscious coming out of you. You created block. And it's not them, it's not the product, it's not the atmosphere, it's not the nature, it's not your neighborhood. It is 100% you. Period. Always, always. It doesn't like to admit it, but it's true. The great thing is you can figure it out. It's not that hard. Sit down and be honest with yourself. If you dig deep down, when this client has that objection, and if yours is, man, Bob, that's bull, because my block's always price. Deep down, when a client objects to price, if that's your block, deep down, do you think the client's right? If it's value, deep down, you're going to find that you think the price is high. Deep down, you're going to find that you think it's value. Deep down, when you don't lie to yourself at night, when you think that every client where you keep losing them is, they just need to go home and pray about it, deep down, you find that you care about that. That said, the fix is easy. Either sell yourself so that you know at the core of your soul that you no longer conceive of the client being right with that objection ever again, or quit selling the product. If you don't believe in the product enough to sell it any longer, life's too short. Go find a product you believe in and sell it. If you think it has to be prayer, then dig down deep. Sell yourself to the point it is completely eradicated that a client would ever want or need to do that. And if you can't get there, you're selling the wrong product. You need to move on. And for those that think I'm horrible, how could you cost my best friend? I've done you a favor. I've done everyone a favor. If you really don't think the value's there, sell yourself on it. Figure out. Force yourself to see it and to get it. Because that all comes out in your subconscious. It all comes out. Force yourself to see it. And if you can't convince yourself deep in your heart of hearts, you're never going to convince everyone you run into. And if you are, hey man, I sell the national average, but I still have that common thing. You want to be better than average? Fix that block. Second is a manager. Believe it or not, your sales manager will ascertain much quicker than the salesperson what their block is and probably even why it happens. Most of us as people have a hard time self-analyzing. I guarantee if you have a sales manager and he's paying attention, he knows what your block is and he probably knows why it happens. Example, a common family approval block. The person, we believe everybody buys in. We don't, I want to, but I got to talk to the wife. I want to, I got to talk to the husband. We sit down with the parents. We sit down with the in-laws. We have family meeting. If that is your common, it is usually created by a salesperson that believes in his heart no one should ever make a decision without full agreement from the full family first. You're going to find that. That's you. You think it's right. Deep down you do. The problem is, how do you fix this issue? Discipline won't work. This type of subconscious sales block goes deeper than fear, and discipline is a fear-based motivator. That is a very big truth. I hope you caught that and hold on to it. Pointing it out can work, but often fails if the salesperson usually will deny the problem and work to find other reasons to protect their subconscious belief system. By this, what I mean is, as the manager, you threaten them, you're wasting your time. It will not overcome it. This is so deeply ingrained that it surpasses fear. It owns its own fear. You will not overcome this. You can walk them through and you can tell them, you say, hey man, I want to explain to you where this is coming from. That can work. If somebody's extremely logical and if it's not too deep and if it's not a fear and bane, they can overcome it. More often than not, they will go, and the second they walk out, their mind is flying a million miles an hour of why you're an idiot and you don't know what they're talking about and this is why it happens, not that. Justifying because the body has to protect the body. The psyche must protect the psyche. The subconscious has to keep itself healthy. It will not stop doing this thing because it believes in it deep in your subconscious. And rather than once confronted with it, admit it and have to deal with that, it will protect that with other side logic. That is why that often doesn't work. The most common fix is one that will never work, and that's, let me rephrase this because I need you to understand what I mean. The most common fix managers attempt is throwing money at it, and that will never work. Never work. Belief that greed will overcome fear is stupid. It's completely foolish. Belief that you can motivate someone through greed and that greed and desire has a higher placement in their psyche and subconscious than fear, which is the essence root of what is causing this act to come out, it will never happen. And guys, I'm guilty of trying to do it too. Because you think, well, they just need motivation. We'll put a bonus. We'll make enough money. Not at all. This is not a greed-based issue. You will not win it with greed. They'll take your free money if you give it to them, but it's not going to have any effect. Don't try to do it that way. Keep in mind, we're talking about a block that is never consciously caused. This is always something deep in the salesperson's psyche and is caused by deep-held beliefs. People and their subconscious will always be true to themselves first and foremost. Greed and bonus motivation ask them to betray themselves first, and they cannot do that by the very nature of humanity. Human nature itself will block. Culture change can help. Selling the salesperson on the concept as relates to their value can help. Another great option is to get them to accept this problem and overcome it early in their process. Pausing on both of those. Figuring out what it is and teaching them, selling their psyche and subconscious that it is not true. Like I said earlier, as a salesperson, you figured out you sell yourself. As a manager, you figured out you have to sell the salesperson on it. This is true. This has value. You can do that. You can overcome, hey, look what's great about families. And you get them to their subconscious sell down, that little screaming voice in there, and it will stop. The other is to accept that this is a good person, this is a good salesperson, I want them. But they have this block that we have to try to overcome. I'm not going to be able to sell them on it because it's so deeply held. So what I'm going to do is I am going to adapt this salesperson's sales process to handle this early. As a rule, you want to let things evolve. You want to let them come. You never want to be going to a forced close or dealing with an objection, or you darn sure never want to create your own. However, if your subconscious is creating this one every single time, it's an objection that's going to happen with every client. Some clients will overcome it for you. It's why you do sell some, but too many are not. Too many will even take that and run down their own track. You don't even realize what you had caused because it seems different, yet it's directly related. So it is an objection that exists in every one of your sales presentations. Nip it early. If it's family, then early in your presentation, because I'm just sticking with this, and it's not very common, by the way, deal with family. How do y'all feel about family? Man, family is the most important thing. I always like to get together and discuss. Are there any family members you would like to have here for this presentation? Are there any more that you want to evolve? Do you like to, how can we make sure we include everyone through so that we're ready? Nail it early. Sell your subconscious, sell the client. It will work. If it's price, if deep down you just can't believe in the price, deal with the price early. Hey, our price is $6.85 a foot. I know for some people that seems high. You know, there's some days I do, some I don't. But the reality is it's a lot cheaper than everybody else's. What kind of price structure were y'all thinking relative to value, and what do you put value on? You're not going to be the best salesperson in the world. And honestly, if price is your biggest issue, you're going to really struggle. But if that's your issue and you can't convince yourself and you can't get it down and you have to stay on the job, then by gum, this is the only shot you got. So go ahead and nail it early. You're going to sell a heck of a lot more than you are if you don't. So deal with it early. Make it part of the sales process. Problem is always a price issue, then teach that salesperson to deal with price and value early. Make the salesperson make the client deal with the price issue as a first option. A terrible choice normally is price is only relevant to value, and you can't know value until you've been thoroughly introduced to the product. However, in this case, what better to remove the block early, and the salesperson will believe enough to bring the client along the rest of the way to close at the end of the sale. The best option is probably therapy. I'm serious. I'm not saying somebody's broken. There ain't a single one of us that doesn't want or need it. A good analyst, a good one, I don't mean a counselor, because a counselor just listens. I mean a true analyst. A good analyst with understanding of what the goal is and why you're there will help direct the salesperson away from their doubts and toward their proper beliefs. The struggle here is finding a good therapist. All I can see to that is judge them like you do anyone else, by results. Here's an important tidbit. Therapists are a lot like chiropractors. They fix the patient pretty quickly. Doesn't mean you don't need maintenance adjustments regularly. It just means you can tell if they're good or not in weeks, not months or years. If you're going to a chiropractor and you've been going for months and they're telling you eventually this is going to start to work, you're at the wrong one. If you go to one, they get you fixed in a couple weeks, which they can and will. If you're smart, you keep going back for maintenance. Therapy is the same way. If you're going to a therapist and you're worse after 2 months, you got a bad therapist. Also, make very clear what you're going for. You're not going to revel in your life. You're not going to fix your marriage. You're not going to deal with this. You're going to overcome a sales problem you have. It makes a heck of a lot easier for them to adjust you. Be very clear. So many people go to a doctor and they're like, well, you know, you're the doctor. Tell the doctor your problem and what you want. Make it easy. And if they're like, I don't work that way, you're not my doctor. Boom, next. Very, very valuable. I cannot stress enough, it's huge help. You look at big power companies with power salespeople, guys, they keep a motivational adjustment therapist on staff. Okay, little side note. Don't doubt the subconscious leading you to block sales. And this is where we're going to end. It's an act of self-love. It's an act of self-love. Your subconscious doing this is not a mean thing. It is your subconscious protecting something deep. What is fascinating is what causes the block. For some, it's positive, and for some, it's a negative, but all need help. An example, a person who needs family buy-in can be coming from a place of extreme health. It could be a massively positive thing that caused that block. Let's see that he came from a family that truly shared all thoughts, all decisions, everything from mutual group discussion and wisdom of decisions made together. Had such an amazing father, such an amazing mother, such an amazing grandmother. This was how they were raised. Their parent was George Stinkin' Washington. That's a huge positive. But it doesn't mean that deep in this person's psyche, this is set in a wonderful, beautiful foundation, a very important core essence of their value. And it was hammered through good. It's still causing a terrible problem and a block that has to be dealt with. But let's deal with the other. What if there's another person who has the exact same issue, but their block was caused by an abusive parent that demanded final say on all things? By a mother that shredded the father. How could you have done that? How could you have, by the father beat the wife? I said Oreo double stuff. A freakishly abusive parent, so that deep in this person's psyche, hammered and drilled in with a spike, is you must get the buy-in because the fear, the pain can be overwhelming. Both, one of the most positive in the world, one of the most horrible negative in the world, manifest to the exact same problem. It doesn't have to be a positive, it doesn't have to be a negative. You just got to be ascertain it, break it down, and then be able to fix it. It's amazing where the source can come from. As you see people get into this, you're going to be fascinated. It's very, very cool. But whether from an extreme negative or an extreme positive or absolute middle ground, it is always the mind protecting you. And through you, your mind is trying to protect your client as an act of self-love. That is a beautiful thing. Just sadly, the mind can be misguided. There you go. Hope you got something from today's. Thank you very much.